Next to 10, 3 people, including 2 siblings, are the center of a heroin bust tonight. More than 10 different law enforcement agencies were part of an extensive drug investigation. Corey Jerome was arrested in May for selling heroin to an undercover officer. His sister, Crystal Jerome, is accused of setting up that meeting. Now, police used a GPS device to find Crystal Jerome in June. She was tracked in Chicago and arrested the next day in Marquette County. Claudine Maltus was also riding in her car. They were both arrested, telling police they were in Chicago to buy heroin and used some on the trip back. New at 10 now, Danica Lewis is tracing Dane County's drug routes, and this one not uncommon, right, Danica?
Michelle, that's absolutely right. Turns out that trio from Marquette County fit a popular pattern. Dane County's narcotics team seized more than 300 grams of heroin last year alone and more than $250,000 worth from 2010 to 2013. Almost all of it coming into Dane County is coming from Chicago.
This isn't the only traffic moving north on the interstate.
The supply chain has become far more dispersed.
And that chain, the drug traffic, starts in Chicago.
More frequently, but bringing back much smaller quantities at a time.
Madison Lieutenant Jason Friedman is part of Dane County's narcotics unit.
Tracking it is really difficult.
Friedman says the way heroin dealers are doing business, more people carrying fewer grams, makes it harder to find them and bring them to justice.
If I have a smaller amount of product on me, it's easier to conceal, and if I get caught, the penalties are going to be less.
Plus, more dealers are pulling off of the highway and taking their business directly to suburbs instead of stopping in Madison.
We can find the little smaller players, but it makes it harder to put the pieces together.
You could go to any of the hotels around here and find people who were using, so it's pretty easy.
For Amy Sanchez, the hard part was stepping into a room like this one at Connections Counseling.
It's always been available.
But so is help. Sanchez, who used to use heroin and opiates, now leads groups for recovering addicts.
I think it's really hard. At least for me, it's impossible to do it alone.
The traffic will keep coming, but Sanchez knows the road to recovery is also a route well traveled.
Sometimes it's portrayed to be hopeless, and it's not. It's not at all.
Now, just to be clear, most of the heroin is manufactured outside of the United States, south of us, mostly in Mexico, according to Lieutenant Friedman. He also stressed to us that no police force can arrest their way out of this problem. It will take treatment, education, and more to scale back demand for heroin in this area, Michelle.
So if that's the case, are there any other resources out there for people if they need help?
Absolutely. There are quite a few out there, as Amy Sanchez mentioned, too. The state's Department of Justice as well has a website out, theflyeffect.com. It's a campaign to raise awareness about heroin's destructive effects. On the site, you can watch videos of people sharing their stories on the drug and get numbers on where to find help as well and what to look for if there's someone that you know who might be using. Again, it's going to take all of these resources, Michelle. We've said it before, we'll say it again, according to folks, to make this end this epidemic here in Wisconsin.
Sure, absolutely. We've heard a lot of heartbreaking stories already. Okay, thank you, Danica.
Sure thing.